Go inside the Crimson Tide with your hosts Rodney Orr and Gary Harris, keeping you informed on everything Alabama. Tider Insider TV, brought to you by Tuscaloosa Tourism and Sports.
And good evening, everybody, and welcome in to TITV, the Halloween edition, brought to you by Tuscaloosa Tourism and Sports. Rodney Orr, Gary Harris. We did not dress up, but some people would say we're scary enough, Rodney, without having to dress up. You know what I mean? So we'll just come as ourselves. And we got a lot on this TITV edition, on this Halloween edition. Right off the bat, I want to say special happy birthday to the GOAT, Nick Saban. It's his 72nd birthday. Of course, nothing, Rodney, would be better for the coach than to get a little payback against LSU, and that is where we're going to begin. Alabama and the Bayou Bengals this Saturday night in Bryant-Denny Stadium. After coming off the bye, the Crimson Tide ready to get home on Saturday night and start the stretch run. Alabama 7-1 overall, 5-0 in the SEC, in first place in the SEC West. But they remember very well what happened last year. That game, even after the Tennessee loss in the bye week, if Alabama wins that game against LSU, they're in Atlanta playing Georgia for the SEC Championship and a spot in the college football playoff. We know what happened. 32-31, Bama lost in overtime when LSU went for and made a two-point conversion after a game-tying touchdown by Jayden Daniels. Alabama and LSU will meet for the 88th time. Alabama leads the all-time series 55-27-5, but it's that last one, Rodney, that sticks in their craw. ESPN Gameday will be here in Tuscaloosa for the second time this year. Some Alabama fans kind of have mixed emotions about that. Bama's record is great all the way around, but it's not as good on game day. And they're already 0-1 this year. They came for the Texas game. 6:45 kickoff Saturday night on CBS in prime time. The winner in this matchup, especially if it's Alabama, they would have a two-game lead on LSU plus the tiebreaker, a one-game lead on Ole Miss plus the tiebreaker. So, Rodney, this is a huge game for the Crimson Tide. Nick Saban, this is his 18th meeting. Remember, they played twice in 2011. He's 12-5 all-time against the Tigers. The 5 losses, though, are tied with Auburn for the most that he's lost to any team since he's been at Alabama. Let's go ahead and kick off our preview. What do you see on Saturday night?
Well, I'll tell you what, Gary, I think these are, right now, these are two of the best teams, I think, in college football, the way they're playing. Now, you look at LSU offensively, they're as dynamic as any team in the country. They lead the nation in scoring. They lead the nation in first downs. They lead the nation in third down conversions. They're averaging 50-plus points a game. They're averaging they're right at 47.5 points a game. They're averaging over 550 yards a game. This is a team that can run it, they can throw it, they score a lot of points offensively, and it's going to be a real challenge for this Alabama defense. But you look at Alabama offensively, Gary, I like kind of where they're trending after this, what we saw in the second half against Tennessee, and they're going up against a defense in LSU that's a little bit banged up.
You mentioned it, though. LSU's offense is the best in the country. It is just dynamic. And Jayden Daniels, Rodney, in my opinion, and I don't have a vote, right now he should be the leading candidate for the Heisman Trophy.
I think he is. I think when you look at him, Gary, right now he's thrown 25 touchdown passes. He's only thrown 3 interceptions. He's over 2,500 yards passing. His guy's rushed for 500 yards. He's the second leading rusher on their team. He's rushed for 5 more touchdowns. He's done it all for them. He's been a fantastic player.
And when you look at Alabama's offense, it's a work in progress, but there's so much focus, I think, sometimes on what Alabama doesn't do or what Jalen Milroe doesn't do. I think lately we're missing what Alabama can do. And what Milroe, he's made big plays. He's thrown the ball down the field. The running game in the second half against the Tennessee defense that's stout up front was really, really strong. This is an offense now coming off a bye week that I think is poised to play its best football, and that's what you want. We've talked about it all year. You want to be playing your best in November. The key is to make November matter. Certainly Alabama's done that, and I think this offense is going to rise to the occasion, and it'll have to. Yep. No matter how good your defense is, you can't expect to shut LSU down to 13, 14, 17 points.
No way. No way. And you're right, Gary. I think the offensive line's getting better. I think, at right guard, you're really good with Jaden Roberts, who's come on in these last few games since he stepped in the Texas A&M game. I think Caden Proctor's getting better again. I think they're better up front. I think Milroe's made a lot of improvement. I think he's going to have a big night in this game. I really do. I foresee that. And I think, too, this wide receiver core has come around. They've got the right mindset offensively. Yeah, they've been inconsistent, but I think they take the next step against this LSU defense.
And let's not forget, the game is in Tuscaloosa. Even though Alabama's got a great record in Baton Rouge, you'd much rather be at home. I thought the crowd in the Tennessee game was a major factor, and I'm expecting a fever-pitch crowd on Saturday night, too.
Yeah, I think it's going to be one of those games. We've seen a lot of those games, night games. I think this is going to be the best atmosphere of the year.
All right, let's get to Coach Talk. Jayden Daniels, as we've already talked about, is dynamic. And really to call him a dual threat, I like that term for an athletic quarterback, but listen, he can throw the football. I mean, he's a Bryce Young Tua type passer. And then you add in his legs, and listen, he is the total package back there. It's somebody that you have to deal with. Nick Saban understands what his defense will be facing in the form of Jayden Daniels on Saturday night.
Well, I think we want our guys to play aggressive. I don't think you want guys to get pushed by the pocket. I don't think you want guys to lose contain on the guy. So, there's a fine line between, that. I mean, if you get pushed by the pocket, we're playing with 10 guys now. If you lose contain and he gets outside, you put everybody in harm's way that's trying to, sort of plaster their coverage and stay with the guys they got to guard. Plus, he can take off running. I guess there's a fine line between that. We've never, ever told guys to rush in their pass lanes, but be cautious. Never, ever even thought of that. So we're not coaching that.
Hey, Ronnie, what he's saying basically is, you gotta be where you're supposed to be, but when you rush the quarterback, you can't be going in there halfway. You got to go full speed, and you have to affect this guy. He can still make big plays with his legs, but if you give him time to throw, like I said, a lot like Bryce Young, he can pick you apart without having to run if you don't pressure him.
Yeah, he hasn't been sacked that much, and a lot of that's because of his ability to move, Gary. I think, certainly that's going to be a real challenge. But I think the one thing you have to do with him, first of all, you have to stop LSU's run. You have to stop Logan Diggs. He can really run the football. Gary's got over 600 yards. He's yet to be tackled for a loss this year. So you've got to be able to stop the run, but you've got to keep Jayden Daniels. You can't let him escape. Use his running ability, and he can throw on the run as well as anybody in the country.
Yeah, you said it. Diggs gives him a big, strong running back. Daniels can use his legs, and let's be honest, their wide receivers continuing that great, with Neighbors and Thomas, that great LSU tradition at wide receiver. So it's not just about the front. It's not just about the linebackers. It's about the secondary. Really, the defense has to play well in all three areas. Defensive front, linebacking, and secondary.
Yeah, biggest challenge of the year. Look, I think this offense, and Texas is really talented. Quinn Ewers is a good quarterback. I think Jayden Daniels is better. I think mostly because of his ability to run and throw, as you mentioned, the dual threat that he brings. But they've got great receivers, man. I'm telling you. Neighbors has 56 catches. He's got 9 touchdowns. But Brian Thomas Jr., he's got 42 catches, 11 of those for touchdowns, Gary. So this is an offense that can produce a lot. Mason Taylor at tight end's got 20 catches, so they spread the ball around. And
for Jalen Milroe on the other side, I think it's important that he be Jalen Milroe, that he not putting extra pressure on himself and feel like that he's got to keep up with Daniels. And I'm sure the coaching staff will remind him of that. He just needs to be the best version of himself, right?
Yeah, Gary, look, I think LSU's good. They're very talented defensively. There's no question about the athletes that they have. Again, I know they're going to be missing some secondary guys, maybe 2 or 3 even. They've got a lot of young players that I know they have a lot of confidence in back there. But again, I think Milroe's going to have an opportunity to throw the ball. I think he's faced better defenses myself. Mm-hmm. I think, going on the road against that Texas A&M defense, that was a real challenge. You saw what he did in the second half. He's got the ability to exploit these defenses, I think, through the air. But also, I think I'd like to see Jalen Milroe pull it down a few more times because, listen, I think he can be as dynamic running the ball as Jayden Daniels.
No doubt about it. And here's LSU head coach Brian Kelly on the Alabama signal caller.
He'll run and he can go from 0 to 60 as well as anybody. And he is a threat to run. There's no doubt about that. But he's going to stand in the pocket. He's going to throw the football. And the way they create offense is through a balance of running the football, formationing you so you can get some shots down the field. He throws the ball well. He throws the ball well. And he can hit the open targets. He can push the ball down the field.
Ronnie, real quick thought on what Brian Kelly said. He's absolutely right. Jalen has proven he's got the tools to throw the football well. Sometimes it could be a misread, it could be a mistake, it could be holding the ball too long, but his ability to throw the football is top notch.
And I think that's one thing. I think the bye week might be a real advantage for him because now he's gone through 8 weeks. Now he has that off week. Mm-hmm. He can kind of reset himself. I think he's learned a lot. He's improved a lot over that time frame. again, I'm really looking for big things from Jalen Milroe in this game.
Yeah, it's time now to go. I mean, this is serious business on Saturday night. Well, still to come on Tider Insider Television, Alabama men's basketball participated in a exhibition game this past weekend up in Winston-Salem, North Carolina against Wake Forest. It was interesting. Also, a member of the men's cross-country team earned his second consecutive SEC championship. He's one of the best in the country. Stick around. Details coming up. And we'll be getting your phone calls, emails, and tweets in just a little bit on the show. The phone number is always 205-348-WVUA. That's 348-9882. This is the only show that takes you inside the Crimson Tide. Tider Insider TV will return right after this. Exhibition basketball on the schedule this past weekend. Welcome back into TITV. Alongside Rodney Orr, I'm Gary Harris. The number 24 Alabama Crimson Tide played up in Winston-Salem against Wake Forest, a really good team. And Rodney, this was really the tale of two halves, kind of like we talked about Tennessee Alabama football, except this time Alabama was on the wrong end. The Demon Deacons win it 88-80 Sunday afternoon at the LJVM Coliseum. Alabama led by 19 late in the first half and 13 at the break, but was outscored 49-28 in the second half. Graduate transfer guard Aaron Estrada is going to be really good. He led the way with 24 points, shooting 50% from the field. Also had 6 rebounds and 3 assists. How's that for a point guard? Wake Forest, as I mentioned, down big, 19 with about a minute and a half to go. They went on a 6-0 run to end the half, and then they just kept it going on as they fought back from 13 down at the break behind Cam Hildress, game-high 38 points. Alabama will tip off the regular season this coming Monday night, 6 days from tonight at home against Morehead State. Rodney, I guess, I had a lot of people that I've talked to that follow Alabama basketball real close. They said, well, they didn't guard anybody in the second half. Well, they didn't score either. They didn't score but 28 and gave up, over 50. So great first half. I mean, they were knocking down threes, only made one in the second half. It seems to me, no excuses, but might be a case of a new team, some young guys, kind of getting, a little bit happy with how they played in the first half, and maybe, and Coach Oates said that, didn't necessarily have the same intensity in the second half, and you have to play for 40 minutes.
Yeah, you talked about the chemistry, the new players, and a lot of things that you have to do to blend that together. And I think, look, Gary, like you said, I think it's a tremendous experience. I think getting these players together, having that opportunity to kind of play in a game like this and prepare for the season. So, again, I think sometimes it takes a little while for that to develop, and it's going to be really interesting watching this team because there is a lot of talent, a lot of new talent on it.
Yeah, Mark Sears did not play one of Alabama's best players, so keep that in mind. Again, Alabama opens it up Monday night at home against Morehead State at 7 p.m. inside Coleman Coliseum. The Alabama women have an exhibition game against UAH tomorrow night at 5:30 inside Coleman, and then they play Monday against Alabama State at 4:30. So to be women and men on Monday night. Basketball is back. All right, let's move on. For the second time this fall, Alabama men's golf came away with a team championship. The Crimson Tide closed the fall season by capturing the Steelwood Collegiate Championship down in Loxley with a team total of 11 under. They won this thing going away. Thomas Ponder and Austin Coggin led the team, both finishing under par and in the top 10. And what makes it even more impressive, Alabama did it without arguably the top amateur golfer in the world. Nick Dunlap, because of all these championships that he's won, he just sat this one out to get some rest, Rodney, and he might be the best golfer in collegiate golf, and to do this without him, very impressive. And for the second consecutive year, Victor Kiprop claimed the individual title at the men's 8K race at the SEC Championships last Friday morning in Columbia, South Carolina. He was dominant, winning by 8 seconds. Teammate Hillary Sharut took third. The number 22 Crimson Tide men finished in second place overall, and the women came in fourth. Alabama men and women will travel to Gainesville, Florida for the NCAA Regional Championships beginning November the 10th. Well, still to come on TITV, a former Bama running back gets his first home touchdown of the season, plus some Tide duos found their way in the end zone together. Bama in the NFL coming up next. And also your phone calls, emails, and tweets. Again, there's the phone number, 205-348-9882. It's the biggest game of the season, and it's coming up on Saturday night. We want to hear from you, Tider Insider Nation, next. All right, Bama in the NFL, it's almost too much to keep up with. Last night, Jahmyr Gibbs, Ronnie, put on a show. 152 yards rushing. He had 189 total yards. His numbers put him in a category with Kevin Jones, Barry Sanders, and Billy Sims. Three of the greatest in Lions history. And look how he got pulled up into the crowd. Special night for him. Of course, Eagles, Commanders, a lot of Bama guys. Here is Hurts to Devontae Smith. And that you expect. This, Rod, you might not expect. But, boy, it's so good to see. Julio Jones, he only had one catch, but it was a big one. This actually gave the Eagles the lead. And you let him take the hit there. He can still play at 34. And Miami, another tied duo, putting up huge numbers. Tua and the Dolphins took care of Mack and the Patriots. Here is Waddle. You might want to cover him. Just saying, as the Dolphins won 31-17. And what about Denver? Jerry Jeudy's been under the gun a little bit. Steve Smith, the former wide receiver, said he was a jag, just another guy. And he didn't take kindly to that. Well, he showed up Sunday. Look at that catch right there, Rod. And then on the same drive, he's going to get his first touchdown of the year on the corner route. And he did not get traded. There was some talk that the Broncos might deal him, but all of a sudden they've won a couple of games. They may want to make a run. But Bama in the NFL, a lot of fun every week. All right, welcome back in. Let's get right out to the phone lines, Rod. And Sammy leads us up in Walker County. Hey, Sammy.
Thanks, Gary. And hello, Gary and Rodney. It sounds simple, guys, but when you get against a dynamic offensive team like that, if you get the opportunity to stop them, you better score, and it'll take care of itself eventually.
No, I'm with you, Sammy. I mean, I think Alabama's got to be prepared to score. They're going to have to be aggressive offensively. I mean, nothing crazy, but I think certainly they've got to be maybe have to score as many points as they scored outside the Middle Tennessee State game, Gary. I think because, look, you can't expect to hold LSU. If they hold LSU to 30 or less,
should have a chance to win a game.
Yeah, that's pretty amazing.
I agree with you. They're just that dynamic on offense. You're right, Rod and Sammy. You got to get points, and you got to be efficient on offense. All right, let's go over to Alabaster and talk to our buddy Putty. Hey, Putty.
Hey, Gary. Hey, Rodney. How you guys doing?
Doing well.
When it comes to recruiting, there's nobody better than Tyler and Sider. I wanted to get the background and kind of the scoop on Trey Amos.
Yeah, I mean, Trey was at the University of Louisiana last year, and I know, Gary, talking to some people connected to that program, they thought he was a good player before last season. He ended up, by the end of the year, he was a guy that they considered the best player on their roster. Had a really great year and then decided to hit the portal, and there was a lot of teams that wanted him.
Yeah.
I mean, Alabama was very fortunate to get him. He's done a good job when he's had the opportunity to fill in this year. He's going to be needed, and I think he's a really good player.
Yeah, he and Jalen Key both came in from UAB, both making an impact this year. All right, we're going to get to the break. When we come back, more phone calls and our email of the day. So you'll want to stick around. More Tighter Insider TV coming up right after this. There's the phone number, 205-348-9882. Stay with us. Number 25, Alabama Soccer, went to the Final Four last year. They began playing the SEC tournament tonight at 7:30 against number 21 Mississippi State. Second straight year that they'll meet in the SEC tournament quarterfinals. It's also the second time in 10 days they matched up, and Mississippi State beat Alabama 2-0, snapping the Tide's 28-match unbeaten streak at home. How about that? Alabama did bounce back with a 2-1 win over Missouri in its regular season finale on the road. The Tide looking to roll tonight down in Pensacola. And welcome back into the program. It is time for our email question of the day. And our email question of the day is brought to you by KDM Service Corporation. KDM Service Corporation, when it comes to heating and air conditioning, they serve your family like our family. Let's get to the question, Rod. And it is from Jamie in Haleyville. What's the chances that Bama has found someone that can catch a punt during the off week? Been a big topic of conversation. Wow. Kool-Aid McKinstry can certainly catch him. Last year he was dynamic. I don't know what's happened this year, but it seems to be that Nick Saban still has confidence in him, and I understand he's going to be the guy out there on Saturday night. Now, might they put somebody back there with him to shorten the field so they can't kick away from him? I don't know, but looks like Kool-Aid's still in.
Yeah, we saw some of that. Caleb Dowds did drop back once and considered going back another time, but they pulled him up. But we could see that double twin safety, as you mentioned. But, yeah, Kool-Aid, I know there you go. I mean, it looked like he had an opportunity to field that one right there. That's the one that rolled down to the 1 yard line that everyone's talking about at the end of the game. Coach Saban didn't like that. But at the same time, he expressed a lot of confidence in him, Gary, last Wednesday when he spoke. He said, we think Kool-Aid's a really good guy back there. We think he can do a lot of dynamic things with the ball, and he's just got to catch it.
All right, let's go back to the phone line and talk to Marvin over in Birmingham. Hey, Marvin.
Hello.
Hey.
Hey. First of all, I'd like to say I really appreciate the job that you and Gary do, and that I'd like to know a little bit about Justice Haynes and the two freshman outside linebackers. Have they played, and what's their status?
All right, Rod, start with Justice Haynes. He has played. the running back out of Beaufort, Georgia. He's played in the backfield, has flashed some talent. He's a true freshman, but I think he's got a really bright future.
He does. I think he's going to be a really, really good player. He's in a room that's loaded with a lot of talent, and I think some older talent, obviously, with Jace McClellan and Roydell Williams and even Jam Miller. But, yeah, I think he's going to be an outstanding player. He's probably referring to Keon Keeley.
That's certainly one of them.
And Keon might have played in that Middle Tennessee game, Gary, but I don't think he's played since then. And, again, I think because he got in late, he wasn't one of those early enrollees. That probably put him a little behind. I don't know if he's referring to Johannes Pierre. I hear he's making a lot of progress, Gary. He's had a really good fall. He's not really played, but I hear he's getting bigger and stronger and all of those things. And he could also be referring to another 5-star, Quay Rousseau out of Montgomery, who, again, is continuing to make a lot of progress.
All right. Thanks for the phone calls and emails. We'll be back with our predictions coming up next on TITV. Time flies when you're having fun on this Halloween evening. Rodney, it's prediction time, and I know everybody's anxious to hear what you think about Saturday night.
Well, I've already made a lot of my points, Gary, as far as what I think is going to happen in this game. But I tell you what, obviously Alabama's got to limit this LSU offense, but I think this is the game that Alabama's offense makes the statement. I'm expecting, as I said, a really big game. I think Milroe's going to have an outstanding game, Gary. I've got Alabama 34-30.
I like the sound of that, Rod, and, I picked Alabama to lose at A&M. I took a lot of heat for it, but I had a hard time coming up with a prediction for this game, too. I went back and forth on it, but I'm telling you right now, I think Alabama has set itself up for this stretch run. They're the team to beat. They're at home, and I'm with you. I think the Tide's got to get into the 30s, but I think Alabama's offense answers some question, and they win the game 38-31. And in doing so, won't technically wrap up the West, but I think for all intent and purposes, they're going to wrap it up. I think they're going to be celebrating in Bryant-Denny on Saturday night. All right, that's going to do it for the show. A reminder, you can catch on a replay tonight at 10:30 on WVUA 23 or anytime on WVUA23.com. We're going to leave you with some birthday cupcakes for Nick Saban, the Bama players, telling their coach happy birthday and having a little celebration. For Rodney Orr, I'm Gary Harris. Have a great night, everybody.